That doesn't sound fresh, huh? Good evening. Welcome. Man, so many people, so many people coming in from like YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, dark mode. It's default. You know, it's default. Let's not get too carried away here. Good evening, though. Welcome. Going to be running through all the markets-ish. BTC, ETH, Sol, running through the indexes, running through the metals. Maybe looking at one FX pairing. I mean, it's the devil's market, but we might take a look at it just because it's relatively interesting medium term and it does involve the dollar. So yeah, but we'll give people just 30 seconds longer and then we'll start diving into some hopefully level-headed rational analysis. I'm going to put the message out there as well. I am exceedingly tired today. So I apologize in advance if I make mistakes, trip over my words. Maybe I should just give like a blanket label of if I get any decisions wrong, if I get any directional bets wrong. Chalk it down to the tiredness. Maybe this is how I start every stream. Maybe it just starts with an apology. We're going to be charting from Ostium, sponsoring the stream. Big thank you to those guys. At Ostium, you can trade your TradFi markets on chain, nice and easy. Good for us for the futures open, roughly around 45 minutes time. We'll stay live until the futures open. We'll see which way the markets decide to move after this weekend. And we'll start off with our analysis of BTC. So on the BTC side of things, classic weekend price action. Actually, what we've come to know is classic Sunday price action in terms of the way that the markets have been behaving in this little time period that we've had here. So we can see here on the 15-minute, basically like a couple of things have been achieved over today. Violent price action both on the upside and the downside, you know, basically spanning within 45 minutes roughly of time. We're kind of seeing the volatile patches, and then the rest of the time really chopping around and not doing a huge amount. So we can start off here, and obviously BTC coming for the run of this low over here, and then later on we're seeing BTC basically run everything from all the way over here. But more significantly probably is this little patch of price action that we have in here, which is basically just like a really flat area of price action which happened all over yesterday. And so we're just running all of that. So what we've done is we've ended up in a situation in which we've basically, you know, come down to take out some stops at the low before we saw this impulse candle, which was basically at the US Open on Friday, into stagnant weekend price action on Saturday and for the remainder of the Friday session, sweeping the lows of that, sweeping the highs of that, and still now sticking within our little range here. So, concerning kind of points from a BTC perspective is probably like the weakness on the medium time frames. So the hourly, the 4 hour kind of still looking a little bit gross on that side, especially for the potential for this this area of chop to continue. You can see from the hourly here, basically this is what we're seeing represented here is just higher time frame consolidation, which is what's really shitty. And one of the things that I keep on trying to drive home on Twitter, which is you really have to stay aware of what the time horizons for this look like, because if you're involved in this down on the lower time frames, and there's still a lot of aggression in the market in terms of people looking to actively trade this market because of being down, taking losses, portfolios being down, etc. So there's a tendency to still be really zoomed in on this market. But when you start kind of having that time appreciation, moving out a little bit from the lower time frames, this really is just a big area of higher time frame consolidation here on BTC, and we've really had that since kind of the first week of March. So for the last kind of probably 8-9 days, this area here of price action is really just lower time frame price action that's chopping us around, but is really conducive with higher time frame consolidation still. So if we take a look at the daily, we can kind of see that to a greater extent in terms of what we're seeing through here, but then also the fact that we actually have some positive signs from a daily perspective. So the daily is still representing this. Now, this is still a divergence that I've said I do not believe sticks. I still don't believe this divergence. Now, it's getting closer to the point where I have to start to believe it, but as it stands right now, I don't believe the divergence that's currently in play here. The reason for that is because of this area here and the 50 level being retested on the RSI on the big move back to 92Ks. So that leads me into kind of not believing this low here, and I think that the far more likely outcome is still this move. Now, from an AO perspective, this can also support this. Okay, so if we do get this leg down here and we end up triple divving this, great setup. Would smack right into that huge level we've been discussing all the way through here at kind of 72,000. Downside of that is obviously this is the level that everybody's talking about. Okay, and we know from a crypto perspective, whenever we get those levels which kind of gather everybody's thoughts and attention around one single point, it rarely tends to be that exact figure. It usually is higher or lower. It never usually falls around that figure. It usually makes sure that if you want to buy at 72K, it's going to force you out by trading to 67K. So at the moment, just a poorer situation to be in. Still unsure about the higher time frame divergence, whether or not we're going to get that extra leg down. If we do get that leg down, the risk reward of playing BTC through that area just makes complete sense. I don't think you can sit there and just let BTC trade there and not do anything about it. So yeah, so I, if it tags down into this level, despite everybody and their grandmas looking to get long at this level, I still think that the risk reward just makes sense that, trading through this 72K and sub 72K zone just makes sense to try and be long through there. And we'll see whether or not the divergence sticks or not. Like I said, I would love to see an extra leg down. I think that that's probably still the more likely outcome through here is the extra leg lower. Can see that the daily really isn't doing a huge amount. Again, it can feel when we're glued into those lower time frames as though there's hugely kind of meaningful price action occurring through here when there really isn't. And obviously we've still got that market structure in effect where we can clearly see the lower low through here on the daily. And obviously, just trading into an area again of resistance through here. And even locally, this is just resistance here on the daily. So we're just freezing everything out here. This is the big wick that came back to the downside. We recovered for the great weekly close before kind of puking and giving everything back. And still really holding this down as a little resistance region through here now at 84,000. And then everybody's favorite. Let's go over to ETH. Everybody's favorite. I know. Such a joyful market to be able to discuss. Like, just out of interest, like, chat right now, how many of you still hold ETH? I'm putting my hand up there because I'm still holding ETH. But how many people are holding ETH right now? Out. Grossly underwater. Me too, brother. Me too. Okay, little, yes. Okay. 0. Damn. Damn. I wish I was you. All right, plenty of people also not holding ETH. Okay. I told my wife I own ETH and she left me. Smart lady, honestly. Very smart. Tired of the high gas fees? Man, you would have loved NFT season. Damn, long with FTX refund? I mean, like, ETH is such a difficult market to actually, you know, provide any rational analysis. And I mean, I can give you kind of the recount as well of like my experience of holding ETH. My ETH position is also grossly underwater from a spot perspective. ETH's aggression to the downside has obviously been quite strong. You know, that's goes without saying. It also feels as though ETH has been a market that actually has given very little back on kind of the upside in terms of de-risking. So like part of my current underwater status on ETH is partly through laziness and then partly through ETH actually not really ever doing anything meaningful to then be able to kind of scale out appropriately or make some bigger decisions with a position. And then what happens, which is also like a fallacy in itself and, you know, something which undoubtedly will punish me, is that, you know, ETH trades to 1800 and now it's a lot like, do I really want to cut in my ETH position at 1800? And then, so, you know, something inside is like screaming, no, you absolutely don't want to do that. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, it can still obviously get worse. Right? But like closing at 1800 kind of feels gross. So, as I said, through laziness and inability to bounce, in a position where now I feel as though I can't close just because of the current price of ETH. But higher time frames still producing no real meaningful divergences. Again, we can see here the AO is not agreeing with the RSI in terms of the divergence. The flip decision, the opposite side of the story from the BTC chart, but not agreeing down here in terms of the divergence being valid. Lower time frames, you know, largely just following in the path of BTC. Lower time frame range is a little bit more defined on the ETH side of things. You know, we're probably, I mean, the upside is far easier to be able to kind of grasp. It's here. Right? It's 1950 is the upside cap that we're seeing. And then downside probably somewhere here. So that's what we're operating in lower time frame. Once again, it looks like higher time frame consolidation. Once again, with the trend the way that it currently is and the downtrending conditions prevailing in the market, we would expect this to leg down again. Right, we would expect this to come down another leg here. Just in line with, again, simple market structure. Every time that we get a consolidation, unfortunately, we're now not in that glorious bull market conditions where we expect upside breaks. We have to expect downside breaks. No matter what the price action looks like when it's at even 1800, when we're still consolidating, our natural expectation would be that consolidation resolves in the direction of the prevailing trend, which means lower prices. Great. 12 hour? Yeah. This is the more interesting picture. And also just because of this low here, right, through here, and then this one that we leg down to here. But again, still not in a position to really feel comfortable about that. that's similar to the BTC position here with this reset, and this price action actually kind of being more believable in terms of continuation to the downside. ETH did a pretty good job the other day of managing to reclaim, I think it was like 1870. You can see that that's really where kind of some of the squeeze started through here. So actually on the lower time frames around the 4 hour, this was quite a nice level. ETH had managed to support itself above this kind of 1870 region on multiple occasions during this 4 hour window. And this area here looked as though things were going to start to roll over again, but managed to save itself really well. And that has caused and helped with this rally into the highs of this lower time frame range at that 1950 level. But again, still a pretty pissy and poor market overall. Sold all crypto at BTC 102K. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, obviously could get worse, but 1600 still looking good. Yeah, again, which makes me not want to puke at 18. So again, I've just convinced myself that, you know, this is a long-term investment now. Welcome to the Ethereum community. Yeah, I still have my soul back. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a little bit of soul now. Again, very similar chart to BTC. And Sol for now, there's a couple of people, and somebody in chat asked it before about, you know, like what's the blind buy levels? And I don't have an answer for that right now. I don't have a blind buy, this is where you get in, this is where I buy. Like BTC, sub 72K, that's probably the closest I can get to just blanket answering that. When it comes to like Sol and ETH, it truly is now a situation where I just have to wait for strength again. And Sol is a very good example of that because, you know, we've got several levels in here and, you know, I can better represent them elsewhere. But you've got one that's through here, which is 160. And for me, realistically, that's probably where I'm going to have to be a buyer, you know, in terms of a spot bag and a spot holding perspective. I think that's where you get confirmation of strength being back in the market. That's when you start breaking some of the market structures back into uptrending scenarios. And you don't need to be early on any of this stuff. That's also a really significant and important point for the majority of people. You do not need to be early on this stuff. You just need to catch it when the trend shifts. That's all you need to do. And you go back and you look historically at the markets, and BTC is a very good example. I did the comparisons the other day to the NASDAQ. And when BTC shifted its market structure, and that was at the end of, I think it was about 9 months of downtrend, you just basically could have bought any time over the next 2 months and been significantly up. And so you don't need to be early on any of these. You don't need to be trying to time bottoms. You just need to act when there is strength and kind of an inclination to do so in the market. And for me, probably above 160 is the ideal place on Sol in order to be able to catch that. I've sold my phone upside down and got excited. Yeah. Would be nice, huh? Yeah, and then the only good-looking coin in the market is Fartcoin. Fartcoin looks in a really good position. Only from the perspective of it has a better higher time frame divergences. The 12-hour is diverging really well on Renko. The 4-hour is diverging really well on Renko. I took profit on my Fartcoin long. I longed it in the Haven this week. I got out 24% up. It was a really nasty 1-hour div. kind of played into when we saw the aggression on BTC and ETH, and then we saw quite a strong recovery again, choppier conditions. But Fartcoin still has the potential, I think, to run quite aggressively towards that 42 cents mark. And so I think that Fartcoin is still absolutely an attractive looking market to be paying attention to, honestly. Yeah, you thought that SP 500 is going to crash, so why didn't you sell your ETH? Yeah. Well, like I said, like part laziness, but also because I shorted the top of the S&P. So that kind of has helped things. My entry is literally like up here. So because I have a very good short on this side of things, it kind of chilled things out on general portfolio stuff. So that's the only kind of pleasing side. And yeah, I still believe that this market is cooked. I still don't believe that this is it. I still don't believe that this is the play out of whatever we're seeing on the weekly. I still think that we've got, and even I don't want to speculate on how long, because that's probably the worst thing I can do. I think the divergence hasn't yet completed. And then when it does, it depends on the response on the other side. The monthly div on BTC, I still don't think is a div. I still don't believe that that div is an actual div on BTC monthly. A little bit like I don't believe the daily. Both are probably going to come true. But the monthly is one that I don't believe is an actual divergence. I think that the monthly, when you look at a monthly BTC chart, and we can quickly do that here depending on how much data that we've got to be able to work with, but even if we've just got a limited span here, it'll be helpful for us. Yeah, okay. So the monthly divergence up here, so it's from here to here, and it's represented kind of like differently in a couple of places. I don't think it's valid as a div. This isn't valid as a div up at the highs between these two legs. And when you look at a monthly BTC chart, it for me, it looks absolutely part of a normal correction. I think when you look at a monthly, if this was a 5-minute chart, you'd say the chart looks fucking great. Because it's a monthly, number one, we don't look at it and we don't care about it as much. But I think it looks really good. This, to me, just looks like a standard market correction on the higher time frames. Yeah, monthly 60 level has been a good level of bounce in the past. Do you think it will be this time? Fingers crossed. Again, I still see this just as natural market correction. Monthly, for me, looks good. Like, I think this is a super great looking monthly. Like, I'd be interested if anybody thought any differently to that. And like I said, the comparison with if this was any other like time frame chart, if this was an hourly chart or a 5-minute or a 15-minute, I think you'd say this looks really good. It's just obviously we're concerned kind of about every other time frame in between that and the monthly. Do you expect some relief this week? Yes. Yeah. I would love to see some kind of more significant bounces. The flip side of that, and I'm not trying to do this just to kind of like hedge the opinion, I would love to see it go up this week. The other side to that argument is that I think that if we leg down again this week instead and we don't get an upside push, I think it actually helps us in speeding up creating a bottom versus getting relief first. Right? So if we get relief first, and especially on like the BTC side of things, then I think there's always going to be a cloud hanging over as about 70K. You get the divergence play out, which may be fine. But I think that if you actually do this first, and this ends up doing a triple div, I think we're actually far closer to a bottoming scenario versus if we get relief first and we end up then like this, right? And this ticks up, this crosses over, right? It's probably a weak crossover here. I think that path is oddly worse for the market. Like, I would rather us continue the aggression to the downside, continue punishing, and then hopefully be closer to a bottoming situation, especially if it gets back down there. Donalt said retesting prior range breakout 74K is kind of bearish, and I would agree with it. Yeah, I mean, absolutely one way of viewing it. When you get a block of kind of 8 months of consolidation like we had through that region, from sort of the 70Ks down to the 55Ks, when you get 8 months of that, the expectation would really be that you wouldn't want to be retesting that. Because realistically, there shouldn't be a reason for us to do that. Without kind of, that element of the analysis, which again can't be proven until the point we actually touch it, and whether or not we just fall straight through it, whether or not it, it provides a short-term bounce, but then it doesn't hold, we don't know the answer to. So without that level of we don't know the answer yet, I still think it makes sense from a risk-reward perspective to bid it, especially if it triple diverges into it. That would be my preference still. I saw a chart of the 365 rolling VWAP. It was so spot on in the total history of BTC, and we're hugging it right now. Yeah, I mean, again, potential to... you can make an argument plenty of ways. The only problem I have really is that I still think it's so difficult to be confident in calling bottoms here. And that's why every time I'm on stream at the moment, I'm saying to people like, look, I don't know where the bottom is. I don't know if the bottom's in already. I don't know if the bottom's in 6 months' time. I don't know if you're getting cheaper than 77K, whatever. The thing that matters is like what represents value to you individually. Do you see BTC at 82K after the price action that it's been on, and potentially because of the, kind of macro scenario, potentially because of the fundamental drive of BTC? Do you see value to it here if you're holding over the next year? If you're looking at trading this and trying to make a profit over the next 4 hours, that's a significantly different kind of form of analysis for, do you see fair value in this over the next 6 months, over the next year, over the next 5 years, depending on your time frames for length of hold. So it's like a really challenging one. And when it comes to dip buying and spot buying, it really just comes down to, where do you feel as though individually there is a sense of value for you in the markets? And, as I said, I can't sit here as, somebody who streams and produces content and tweets and has a larger follower base. And that's about the most kind of bias-free, rational advice I can give you is, I can portray whatever character on Twitter and I can bait with whatever thumbnails I want on YouTube. But the reality is really that. Where do you see value? What's your length of hold? What's your risk tolerance? And then, do you see that, do you see those points aligning here, lower, 70K, 60K, whatever? Man, Axe. Dr. Axius here. I highly recommend shorting XRP funded by Ripple Labs with their infinite treasury from the ETH ICO participation. That they do not care about burning for marketing purposes, propping up the price to attract investors who will become bag holders at the generational top to make it all back. Thank you, Axe. And I agree. I looked at Ripple the other day and I said, I think Ripple is a gross looking little chart, you know? It's a nasty looking chart. And I was also, I had the classic, you know, how many of you guys also been to the fucking barbers and they want to talk about Ripple with you? The guys down the pub getting richer than you are because they're fucking bought Ripple. And these guys still talking about buying Ripple. Is this the new Crusade X? I would love this to be. 4,800 seems like a good SP500 target. Yeah, let me quickly hop back over there and we'll kind of do a little bit more analysis on this market. Explanation for why I still think it's going lower, but maybe shorter term still getting that bounce. Higher time frame, we're just matching up to the prior correctional periods. And so in terms of like percentage to the downside, the NASDAQ is a good example as well. 37% downside last major weekly breakdown on the NASDAQ, 37% to the downside. It took us 14 months to eventually bottom. And then when we did, back to up only conditions as the stock market likes to produce. Very similar position in terms of what we're getting now across all of the major indexes. Obviously, weekly structures breaking, lows being lost, fresh lows created, 6-month lows created for S&P last week. And so in a scenario where we're now finally getting that kind of heaviness of the market starting to rotate and push us into the downside and more aggressive selling that we've seen for quite a decent patch of time. Lower time frame, again, it's going to bounce. NASDAQ did it when we did that 14-month correction. Obviously, during 14 months, we're not just going down only all the time. So there's going to be patches of time in which we're going to get significant relief bounces. And so I'm hoping that the indexes are going to put one of those in. I hope that we're going to trade kind of towards the 5750s. That would kind of be a nice zone through here. So anything that we get that basically gets into this lower boundary that we had last time. So if we can get kind of into this region through here, I think that this is pretty decent for it. Anywhere through this area here. And then probably we're going to have reset this. We're going to be ready for downside, and we're probably going to get Trump that says something or some sort of geopolitical tension that's going to erupt and suddenly catapult us to the downside again. 4,800 as a target point, I think is relatively decent. Reason being, and you know, there's a kind of a similar thought process on my side, although I said 4,600. That's like a, you know, if you get 4,600 on the indexes, I think, to be honest with you, you probably don't even need to buy crypto. You just buy this market and you just sit on it. Like, really, that's probably, you know, a super sensible option. And then through here, I think, you know, kind of around the 4,800 level, we're basically just looking at tagging as much of this run up as we've had. You know, we're just looking at getting as deep into this as we can. Potential for a little untested demand region through here as well, kind of running in line with 4,800 would be nice. It looks like a huge correction. Like I said, I think the markets are going to bounce in the short term. I'd also like the market to not produce this scenario. I'd rather us not trade down to these levels because kind of from a global perspective, things are also probably looking pretty shitty. Crypto's obviously going to be looking pretty shitty at this point in time. But I do think that when you get these sort of market corrections on the indexes, then it provides a huge amount of opportunity for you. For those of you who are looking for, you know, maybe simpler markets to operate in, simpler markets to park capital in, maybe you want to take some profit from crypto. Maybe I should just say take some capital from crypto over to TradFi. You know, again, lovely little market to be able to just go and stick your money into on significant corrections like this. You know, they very much are once every 5 years that you get the opportunity to be able to take advantage of discounts like this, should it happen. And again, I'm not going to kind of sit here and preach this is the target we're getting. Again, I think there's kind of a lot that has to transpire and a lot of time that has to elapse and a lot of, you know, future data that will be revealed to feel more confident or less confident that those sort of targets are going to be hit. Oh, sorry, the audio's cutting off? That's super weird. All right, one sec. Let's close this down. Let's see how we do now. We just my voice and tell me if there's still audio issue. Okay. Sounds fine. Okay. Might be Twitch. Okay. Yeah, one person said that, a couple of people said that sound is fine on Twitch. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Apologies if you are getting audio issues on that side of things. And then the metals. Let's cover off the metals. We got 15 minutes until the open, so we'll quickly cover off the metals. And silver is probably in the most interesting position right now from the metal side. Gold is a little bit more self-explanatory. But silver is looking pretty good. We had a really great move here on silver. This was Thursday. Friday chopped around, but Thursday was a really great push from silver. So now we've got a scenario where really we want to see us attacking 35. Now, obviously, all of the data isn't on here, but we can see that this area here is a resistance point around 35. So the weekly and historically, this 35 level is a problem for silver. Above 35, there's nothing. Okay, there's nothing for silver. It's all-time highs basically from here. It's $50 and it runs. All of the technical side of things look really, really good. They're very well set up, and it looks in a great position. Still SPX chart? What's going on with Restream? Twitch chat is like everywhere. Still SPX? Damn. Yeah, everything's good on my side. Okay. Twitch mobile seems fine. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, if normal markets continue to the downside, then we're going to be cooked on the crypto side. Yeah, exactly. And that is the concern again, the discussions around the 72K level. So yeah. It's a real difficulty, and I hate doing streams when the market environment's like this because I have to speak to you from whatever shitty data we're presented with on a week by week basis. And really there isn't a huge amount that can change week to week. It's actually where the streams kind of get pretty slow when we're talking about the potential for the markets, because like what is it that we can glean from 1 week of price action, the current conditions, that's going to change the overall view as it stands right now? And it's really the best way that I can phrase the information right now, in the way that kind of we're viewing the markets, is that this has to be a piece by piece kind of thought process on what the markets are doing and then what information we have available to us. And so each week that passes, we're going to get a little bit more data, a little bit more information. We're going to have maybe some increased clarity in terms of the overall global conditions that we're faced with. And that will allow us to piece together whether or not we think a bottom is forming. And we know from a crypto perspective, we typically tend to bottom, and I mean maybe all markets is easier to align with this thought process. We tend to bottom in two significant ways. Number one is through a huge amount of volatility and some sort of event driving us significantly to the downside, or we tend to get something that forms some sort of bottoming ranging process that then we start to break clear of, and all you have to do is be able to long at some point during that breaking of the range in order to be able to profit. So yeah, that's the problem with like the analysis of kind of the week by week basis right now, is that I can't give people much clarity because I'm still learning the same way that you guys are. I'm still figuring out what data I can use, what price action is going to develop in that week. Is it going to be a good bounce? If it is a good bounce, is it just a lower time frame squeeze? Is that week just an isolated week of green price action, or is it something that's forming a more meaningful move? And so right now, all we can do is just take it, like I said, lower time frame for those people who are trading lower time frame. Spot is a personal decision. And then all we can do is start to get those pieces of evidence from the market, gather them together in order to form some sort of conclusion about when we think a bottom is going to be placed in. Yeah. Please no more winning, Mr. President. Yeah, that's already going down in the history books as a wild quote for the aftermath of the presidency starting. And I've spoken a lot about the presidency side of things. Like I've spoken a lot on the way that the markets have been reacting to the presidency so far, and I think Trump messed up in a big way in terms of the way that tariffs were done. I think that it was completely the wrong tactic to take. Markets have been concerned about a trade war for a very long period of time, and they're now kind of seeing it come to life, and we now have markets that were slowing down and were weaker anyway, and we now have news which is helping to accelerate some of the sell-off. Why do you think alts went down so much? Oversaturation of the alt market, liquidations of crypto participants, the environment in which alts were faced with, and then just a lack of demand because of such spread focus. It's the classic stale memes conversation and stale alts. There has never been a time at any other point in crypto history that has produced so many things that you can now buy. And unfortunately, that just creates an environment where attention switches very quickly. You have people who made it their edge in sniping graduating contracts for like 10 sol profit and then nuking everything as like the meta, and that being like an edge for trading. And I think it was just largely unsustainable. But obviously alts had their problems prior to that focus on things like pump fun and how many tickers were coming out per day. And it really is just a case of split attention. And it's that fucking logic again of like, I always go back to Doge, like Doge still being, and I still see it happening. I still don't go back on those words I had. I may have been early, but I still don't go back on those words, that I still believe wholeheartedly that the future of memes will still, apart from those, memes that still go on rippers, and that will still happen. But I still believe that largely, if you want exposure to the meme side of crypto, you long Doge. And it will just become the basket for meme coins. Like as an average person, you simply don't have the time to be able to go through all of the different alts, communities, thought processes required in order to be effective in the meme coin market. So if you've got a market that is like Doge and it's something in which you can just long and be like, that's my meme coin exposure, done. It just becomes like the ETF for meme coin exposure. And that's it. It's as simple as that. You just long Doge because Doge is the OG, it's the king, it's the BTC of memes, and you just long Doge and you've got exposure to the meme coin space. That's the way I would love to see it happen. And also you look at the way that memes and alts changed, like alts as well. Like I'm kind of classifying them one as the same, but it's the same scenario for both. Like when you long Doge, everybody's like, oh, you're a boomer because you long Doge, because it feels as though you don't know about anything else. But look how quickly like Pepe, Whiff, Popcat all become like boomer logic coins. Like longing like Whiff now, like Whiff feels like 20 years old. Like, that shit feels like it should have a chart that has the same length of time as Microsoft on it. And so how quickly things become stale and fall out of favor has just accelerated dramatically. Like, no one's fucking longing Whiff anymore. No one's interested in like that generation of memes. Like Peanut, Chill Guy, they're all dead. That's all like feels like boomer shit now. And that's that half-life of memes is just rapidly accelerating. Like Doge at least had longevity. Damn, I really am sounding like a boomer. Doge had longevity and still does. There are some other memes that, you know, you can put in that category. And, you know, I'm not trying to be unfair on things like Popcat and Pepe. Again, I still think they have their own standing. But this whole recent wave of even things that were considered larger memes because of the market caps they ran to, there's just an oversaturation. And exchange is fucked up. Exchange is fucked up in a big way. Like I talk about that a lot. Exchange is fucked up in a huge way by mass listing all of this dog shit, fucking over the end user just to extract fees. That's all they did. They wanted to extract as much as they could by listing dog shit as quickly as possible and fighting with each other. Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't hold memes when participants dump everything to chase the next runner of the day. Yeah, and that was it. You know, you then had people who were, like I said, you know, getting into graduating contracts that were just like dumping for 10 sol profit and just murdering everything. And then you also had the side which was the major killer. I did the tweet about Chill Guy. Chill Guy was the last organic meme that actually had some longevity on chain before it became like a centralized exchange shitcoin. Chill Guy ran organically. It ran on chain. I think it took Binance 12 days to list Chill Guy. And the comparison to that was the comparison I gave to Vine, in which Binance listed Vine within 12 hours of on-chain activity. And so Binance spotted that they needed to list things quicker to extract more fees quickly, but it kills price action. It absolutely murders price action. So Chill Guy, organic, on-chain, you know, it was moving through socials, it was doing things on TikTok, it kind of had that energy about it. Binance listed, it was Pico top. And then what happened is Binance started to greatly reduce the length of time it took them to list on-chain markets, in which case everything's dead by that point already. You don't want a Binance listing, it's cooked. Yeah, Chill Guy was the I should have made it play, put in 1K at 300K and sold at 14 mil. Yeah, man. I think everybody's going to have a story like that from this cycle. I think that that's going to be a classic from here. So yeah. Okay, so we're open on futures now, starting with some green, which is nice to see on the futures open as we kick off. Welcome to a brand new week. Welcome to all the joys and the fun that I'm sure that's going to be brought to us in the week ahead. So if saturation is still a problem, is Altseason dead forever? No, because we'll always be the same. I just think it will have a different form. Although the reality is it probably fucking won't. It will just be an ecosystem pops off and then you just play shit in that ecosystem. So there will always be alt seasons, like for sure there will always be alt seasons. Why is it that every time that Binance or a big exchange lists a coin, it just dumps? There's a couple of reasons. A lot of the time, markets like that just, number one, a lot of people will have, very strong interest in shorting those markets, given the potential for demand to fade very quickly, attention to move on to other things. They make naturally good shorting markets. The fact that there's also a lot of on-chain activity that happens prior to a perps launch is also significant, because many of these markets, especially with on-chain traders and people who are hoovering up supply, what a perps listing does is it automatically gives them the option to hedge their position. And so what you do is when you have something like Chill Guy, you can be a dude on chain that's been operating with Chill Guy at a low cap perspective, and you've been, buying up whatever you can afford to buy up, and you're really positive, and you've been, kind of, let's say you've accumulated 1% of the supply, right? Let's just say. And then Binance go ahead and list a perp. You can just direct hedge and lock in full profit now. And so having that ability for larger players to immediately lock in profit, and not only lock in profit, but are actually now encouraged from one side of things to actually kind of take profit and lock it in on the long side in order to assist in price going down on the short side, and then being able to sit in that position again for the aforementioned reasons of attention moving on very rapidly, memes dying very quickly, new tickers being launched, etc. All right, so we'll run for another 5 minutes as the futures market takes his little early pinch of volatility, and then we'll round up and allow me to actually get some rest ahead of tomorrow. I think I've talked more being tired than not. No prediction, up. I was right. Yes, Trent. This is like, are you like the paid actor here? Yeah, you got it all right here. On chain, connect your wallet, deposit on ARB, immediate access to TradFi markets, 100x lev for the indexes, so better than TradFi exchanges from that perspective. Added new markets last week, so you got NASDAQ now, you got your FX pairings, you got your metals, a little bit of crypto should you wish to partake, but if you're going to be playing the TradFi side, super easy way of just using on-chain to get in and start trading. So yeah, very, very simple way of just getting in and diving around to that side. Another use case for a harp. Is that what you've taken from this? Yeah, TG giveaway coming up. Yeah, I gotta remember that. TG giveaway is coming up. As soon as I'm done here, I'll get that started. If you are not in the TG, I will quickly send a link now so you can get into the Telegram. Now, there's not that many people here that will see it. People won't be pissed. Nah, it'll be fine. Let me get a link for you. Yeah, I started a TG because I'm sick of people. I'm sick of people and the whole. It's the TG link. It's come from the Restreams account, so it's not sussy. Yeah, I'm sick of people. I'm sick of the doom on Twitter. So I basically just done a place where I can just, put some thoughts in, but also like I'm doing a breakout giveaway at the moment because it just makes it a little bit better for people who are following for me to be able to get direct stuff. So also just trying to where I actually see that there's value for people, and I don't have to just throw it into the shit pit of Twitter. And it's also a little bit easier to kind of reward those guys who are more likely to, want to explore things, follow things, take a look at things, that have a bit more of an open mind than the closed nature of Twitter. So BTC hasn't particularly enjoyed the open then. I only use Twitter to browse pictures of cats now. Very sensible choice, honestly. Again, one of the reasons that I produce the Telegram. It's also the same. It's like, for example, Ostium and Breakout. Right? Breakout is the prop trading side on crypto. Ostium is on-chain TradFi markets. Are both really good fucking options for people on Twitter. Right? The fact you can get funded accounts at Breakout, the fact you can trade TradFi on-chain, they're both really cool options for Twitter. And I understand that Twitter sees so much shit. It sees so many scams, so many like links, so many shills that Twitter is very disillusioned. And so actually by having a Telegram and being able to say, look, if you want to try out Ostium, I think it's really cool and actually of benefit to you. If you want to try out Breakout, I think it's really cool and of benefit to you. If you want to join the Haven, right? Like, I'm not pushing that to some audience that is just angry and doesn't care, because I actually truly believe they're missing out on cool things to try and use just because they've been subjected to so much shit over the years. So again, I don't place blame on that side, but trying to actually discuss something cool like the Haven. The Haven's now $99 for all of the education we've ever produced over the last 4 years. $99 for 4 years worth of education. But pushing that out on Twitter, again, it's just like angry and people are pissed off. And it's like, it's actually such a great fucking offer. So yeah, also half the reason for the Telegram. So links are there. Big thank you for joining me tonight. Very much appreciated. Thank you for letting me talk through this in my tired state and to give you some overview to the markets. And once again, the thought process for me, if I can clarify and summarize as best as possible, I think BTC still, I don't believe the daily bullish divergence. I still think we're going to get another leg lower. I would love to see a bounce. Don't get me wrong. I would like to see a bounce on TradFi markets, but everything is still engaged in a very heavy downtrend as it stands. If we start to see some life on TradFi, I think we'll start to get some hold up on BTC. If we start to get some hold up, that will increase the likelihood of the daily divergence playing out from where it is. Therefore, me being wrong. But, at the moment, I don't have enough information to guess either way on that divergence. But gut says that it breaks down. It doesn't follow through with the upside here. Cool. Good timing. Love that timing. Yep. That's it. It's over. Mr. Smith, don't worry about it, man. Hey, if you fail your breakout attempt, don't worry about it. It can be through a range of things, right? You can have you can have like bad market conditions, system not being right, you know, volatility being too great, ton of reasons, right? That's why it's there. You know, you can pick up at a time where you believe. You remember, you only need to do it when you believe that, you know, conditions are good for you, and that's it. But don't sweat like failing one of them. Like I failed like 7. Like it's absolutely fine. So someone is hunting. Yeah, this is where we reverse it as well and trade into like 83,000 in the next like 10 minutes. All right, but like I said, huge thank you to Ostium. Thank you for bringing this series to life. Big thank you to all of you for being here, for tuning in via whatever source you've been through tonight. It is greatly, greatly appreciated as always. And I hope that you've had a wonderful weekend, and I hope you have a wonderful start to the week ahead. Welcome to Monday in terms of the financial world. Welcome to the open. I hope that things are good for us this week. I hope there's some positivity. I hope that your P&L is beautifully green. And I'll catch you guys kind of midweek where I'll get